And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning here at KIDO Talk Radio. Don't forget our newest sponsor for Promote Our Schools, Secure Our Future. We welcome them, our great friends at Pacific Office Automation, now in Boise. Pacific Office Automation, problem solved. Check them out today at pacificoffice.com. Joining us now from Alberta, Canada, Karen Strong to talk, well, about the war on boys, a voiceformen.com. Karen, good to have you back.
Thanks for having me.
Is there a thing as the Kavanaugh effect?
The Kavanaugh effect. Well, I think, honestly, this is the first time that we've seen an allegation of something that happened 36 years ago almost take out somebody who is of that status without actually a trial, without any kind of substantiation whatsoever. And I was just kind of blown away by the fact that even Christine Blasey Ford's lifelong friend said, I don't remember the party, have never met Kavanaugh, so don't know what she's talking about. And yet we still have people who absolutely 100% believe every word out of her mouth. And I'm sorry, but there's just no substantiation. And this sort of, yes, it's a job interview, but it's a job interview that, involves an FBI background check. It involves hearings where people testify under oath. So, it's not the same as it's not applying for a job at the 7-Eleven here. And he seemed to be absolutely squeaky clean after 6 previous FBI background checks. And then this just throws a huge wrench in the works. So, yeah.
Well, when did it become popular in this country and maybe around the world where men did not get the benefit of the doubt?
We go through periods of time, where there are moral panics and certain targeted people do not get the benefit of the doubt. We saw it during the satanic panic of the 80s. Daycare providers really did not get the benefit of the doubt. If Twitter had been around back then, the hashtags would be believe the children, children don't lie, things like that. So I think what we're seeing right now is something that's amplified by the media and by social media that, can really take something that might have started with good intentions, the Me Too movement, and turn it into something really, really ugly and very destructive. So, and the whole idea of believing women and all of that, it's a really dangerous concept. In Toronto, we had that as basically the best practices for police investigations of sexual assault and things like that. For a while, we've had that, and a sort of investigatory practice that goes out of its way to not find counter evidence, to not ask the victim or the complainant the same question twice because she might give 2 different answers. Things like that. And what we're seeing now is the fallout in court, because at least in court, believe the women or believe the complainant is not a legal concept yet. So what we're seeing is more cases failing because they were not investigated properly. So it's really, really, it's dangerous in a lot of respects in terms of all of the fallout. And it really is dangerous for men out there right now, that one woman's accusation can really damage your life and your reputation. So, and it doesn't need to be substantiated whatsoever.
Karen Strong joining us at voiceformen.com on KIDO Talk Radio. That's 107.5 FM, 580 AM with Kevin Miller in the morning. What impact does this have on people that are raising boys right now? I guess anywhere from the ages of, 0 to 24.
Well, I mean, there are a whole host of things that are impacting their boys. The sort of the criminalization of masculinity in general, and the denigration of masculinity in schools. General, regular, ordinary boy behavior is quite severely suppressed in schools right now, and so they're kind of coming at it, growing up within this constant bombardment of negativity towards them. And then as they get older, there was that young boy, 13 years old, pulled out of school, just recently, God, I forget where, by the police because 5 girls, over the course of a couple of months,
this is in Pittsburgh.
They accused him of sexual assault and harassment. And then it turns out they were lying because, the queen bee of the group didn't like the guy and just wanted to see, to get him kicked out of school. And this is happening, in other areas and for other reasons that, we all remember that 7-year-old who chewed his Pop-Tart into the shape of a gun and got suspended from school. So, we're looking at just a very, very, very difficult and dangerous time for young boys and young men growing up. And the advice I would give to parents is tell them the truth about the world they're growing up in, and support their boy behavior. If they get punished, when my son would come home with detention because he'd been punished for just being a boy at school, I was always very supportive of him and said, well, you get detention, I guess, but I'm not mad at you over that. So, yeah.
Again, what's the action step for people that want traditional roles for boys and girls? We're teaching boys that they're second-class citizens, men that they're second-class citizens.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and, this is a huge cultural problem and a political problem right now. And so, there's very little that an individual parent can do or a set of parents can do to make the environment safe for their sons. So it really is, arm your kids with the truth and arm them with your love and your acceptance of who they are as boys. And I think that's probably the best that can be done right now until things calm down a bit. And we've had moral panics before; they eventually fizzle out. So I'm hoping that given that this one's come up so quickly because of social media, that it will die a quicker death than the previous moral panics that we've dealt with. So,
well, that is the hope. Let's get back to the mind of these feminists. What do they hope to achieve?
Oh, geez, I don't even know if they know. They want to change masculinity. They want to completely deconstruct and reconstruct what it is to be male. And men had better go along with it whether they want to or not. And I think that's extremely unfair. There was a Washington Post, I believe, editorial where a 70-year-old woman admitted to screaming abuse at her husband, basically taking out her anger over Kavanaugh and Blasey Ford on her husband. And he just stood there and took it. She's like, I am screaming at my husband of 50 years. I can't control myself. And I'm thinking, you're being abusive. If a man was doing that to a woman, taking his bad day out on her and screaming all kinds of nasty stuff at her, we would all see that as spousal abuse, and we would be telling her to pack her bags and leave. But she seems to almost be proud of her behavior and writes this big, long editorial describing her abusive behavior toward her husband. This is what the mind of a feminist is like. She said, what good men aren't going to change themselves. And I'm thinking, well, if they're good men, why do they need to change?
That's the issue. And we see men being replaced by women all the time. You got superheroes now that are going from men to women. And you watch the popular TV shows, Dad or the kid, the boys are nitwits and the girls are smart. And you actually have people believing that women can beat up men.
I know. It's actually quite funny. And then every once in a while, one will try and get her clock cleaned, and everybody acts shocked because they've been watching TV and they figured a woman could take on a man of I guess a little bit taller and a little bit broader across the shoulders than her. I really think that, something's got to give at some point. And I'm seeing people start to acknowledge, even President Trump saying, it's a scary time to be a young man, that there are people out there who are trying to do stuff about it. We had Betsy DeVos rescind the Dear Colleague letter, the guidance in that, for university sexual misconduct adjudications. So we're seeing changes. And it seems like we're we're seeing much more pushback now, and it's almost like eventually that people are abandoning the left, people are walking away from feminism, and all that will be left are the real crazies, and then they will be seen for what they are, which is kind of crazy.
It is. It is.
So,
Karen, we appreciate you. One more time, your website, if people want to get a hold of you.
People want to see what I have to say. Probably the best place to go is my YouTube channel, Girl Writes What. And you can find me on Twitter at Girl Writes What. I can't give you the name on my blog because it has a bad word in it.
Well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. Now, this is an interesting story coming out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I want to thank Mrs. Miller for tuning me up to this. You have 5 girls that didn't like a boy. So what they did, and this was the school district that I used to cover, one of many. It's called Seneca Valley. The town is Zelienople. Yeah, you try spelling that, never mind saying that. Zelienople. And what happened was you had 5 girls make up false sexual assault allegations against a teenager in high school. They wanted him to be expelled. That happened. Now they're going to sue the parents of the boy.
Says it hasn't officially been served with the lawsuit, but they found out about it through media and other sources. Now, we talked with the attorney representing the 17-year-old boy who says he was falsely accused of sexual assault twice by 5 girls who attend Seneca Valley High School. Craig Fishman says charges against the boy have been dropped, and according to the lawsuit, documents show the accusers admitted to lying. But Fishman says the teen was bullied in school, placed in leg and wrist shackles by police, and had to spend 10 days in a juvenile detention facility. At the football game on Friday, several students wore T-shirts in support of the boy accused. The district says it feels strongly the lawsuit is without merit, but because litigation is pending, they can't comment about the situation. The Seneca Valley School District did release a statement today, though. It says, in part, the number one priority of the Seneca Valley School District is the safety and well-being of our students, staff, parents, and volunteers who enter our buildings. We have policies and procedures in place to protect individuals, and we communicate to all employees on these policies and work hard every day to provide a safe and caring learning environment for all.
So here we have it at 580-5436. You talk about liberal, wacky, zany Me Tooers gone crazy. You have a young man who was bullied. You have 5 girls making this up. They put him in shackles. There's no presumption of innocence. And then you have this high school saying, well, the lawsuit's without merit. Are you kidding? If that happened to someone that you care about, what would you do? Let's talk about it next. Kevin Miller, thank you for waking up with us. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM, KIDO Talk Radio.
He's devastated. He's like, I already get made fun of. Now this.
That's how Jenny McDonough's 9th grade son felt one day after school this year.
My son came home and told me about an incident where there was some inappropriate videos being taken of him in the bathroom at school.
She says school officials tell her they're investigating.
It's really hard to hear about bullying, but when it's your own kid who comes home and it's heartbreaking and you can't do anything to fix it.
It's likely the same way another boy's parents felt, who are suing the Seneca Valley School District, the Butler County DA, and the parents of 5 girls. According to the lawsuit, the girls conspired to falsely accuse the boy of a sexual assault at the Zelienople pool and another assault at a home. The lawsuit says the boy was fired from his job at the pool, forced to endure multiple court appearances, detention in a juvenile facility, detention at home, loss of his liberty, and other damages until several of the girls reluctantly admitted their accusations were false. McDonough already had heard about the lawsuit.
I think a lot of the stories I'm hearing, too, are even worse than my son.
Hi, Mr. DiTullio. This is Gabriella DeLuca with Channel 11.
Channel 11's calls to the school board president, school spokesperson, and Jackson Township Police all went unanswered. But McDonough is demanding them.
I am in charge of protecting my son, and when I'm not with him and he's at school, those teachers and supervisors, those are the people that are entrusted to keep my son safe, and they're failing at their job.
And there we have it again. This is from our old stomping grounds many, many years ago in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Kevin Miller with you here. Our phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. So in lieu of what happened with Justice Kavanaugh, you have this situation where these girls conspired to go after this young man and ruin his life. And what do you say to the Me Too people? You know, on one hand, you've got the Harvey Weinsteins, the Les Moonveses of the world. And on the other hand, you've got what? You've got these girls conspiring to ruin this young man's life. And at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, I have to say I was really influenced by a lecture the other night where, you know, we've become so obsessed with personal gratification, personal promotion, that we've forgotten what's important in our lives. We take our friends, our families for granted. Now, I'm not talking about you, but I am talking about society in general. And when we see what's going on, it's, you know, let's stick it to somebody. Let's strike back at Trump. Trump is bad. Legitimately, there is nothing that people should be complaining about concerning President Trump. Look at the economy. Well, I guess you could say the gas prices if you were looking for something, to be fair. We've got the best economy. We've got people, again, back to work, having good jobs after years of Obama, years of saying, you know, lowered expectations. And this is a good thing. Now, we'll get to the 60 Minutes piece, but at 580-5436, 580-KIDO, when you hear this story where you have people making stuff up, what goes on in your mind on this war against young men? 6:25 is our time. KIDO Talk Radio, traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work.
It's Eric Everett.
And Kevin Miller in the morning here. You know, what we saw and heard, and you still have people saying they're going to go after Brett Kavanaugh. They're going to make sure that it, this doesn't happen again. What really did happen again? And then you take a look at Roy Moore. Now, there are two sides to this story. On the other hand, you could sit there and say, you know something, Kevin Miller? This happens all the time in work. This happens all the time in business. This happens all the time in life. Well, I would agree with you on that to a degree, but we take a look at our popular culture where everybody is rolling around in the sack. We don't have the good guy movies anymore. If they do, they're in a relationship. And we're not talking about a platonic relationship. So where do we go for inspiration? Well, we look within ourselves. We look within charitable giving. That's why I love the people that work for nonprofits. I love the people that give of their own time, their efforts, their energy. They volunteer to make a difference. Those people, if you notice, usually are on the right track. Speaking of the right track, last night, Donald Trump went one-on-one with Leslie Stahl of 60 Minutes. If you missed it, here are some of the 10 big points. Is climate change a hoax, Mr. President?
That climate change is a hoax.
Look, I think something's happening, something's changing, and it'll change back again. I don't think it's a hoax. I think there's probably a difference, but I don't know that it's man-made. I will say this. I don't want to give trillions and trillions of dollars. I don't want to lose millions and millions of jobs. I don't want to be put at a disadvantage.
I wish you could go to Greenland, watch these huge chunks of ice just falling into the ocean, raising the sea levels.
And you don't know whether or not that would have happened with or without man. You don't know.
Well, you're scientists at
No,
NOAA
we have
and NASA.
scientists that disagree with that.
You know, I was thinking, what if he said, no, I've seen the hurricane situations, I've changed my mind. There really is climate change. And I thought, wow, what an impact.
Yeah, why don't you just come up with this popular fallacy about climate change? As the president said, something's going on. We don't know if it's man-made or not. And as we learned under Obama, we learned under Clinton, sure, we can put a ton of restrictions on us, but our global competitors, you know them, the Chinese, the Indians, the Russians, do not adhere to this climate stuff, do not adhere to the environmental stuff. Look at the air in China. It's horrible. The air is so bad in China that it's impacting us here in Idaho. It travels all across the Pacific Ocean, and the air is still bad. Do you know how dirty and sooty air has to be to still have that?
What an impact that would make.
I'm not denying climate change, but it could very well go back. You know, we're talking about over millions of years. They say that we had hurricanes that were far worse than what we just had with Michael.
Who says that? They say. You mean the
People
people on
say.
the phone?
People say that in the.
Yeah, but what about the scientists who say it's worse than ever?
You'd have to show me the scientists because they have a very big political agenda, Leslie.
I can't bring them in.
Scientists also have a political agenda.
He's right about that. So we'll hear more. Get your thoughts. 580-5436. But legitimately, we live in a time where, and I will say this, look, we self-report here. We're transparent. The news media is our biggest enemy. I'll tell you why next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. Our time is 6:30. You're listening to 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Maggie.
Good morning, Kevin.
And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning. Joining us now, best-selling author Susan Purvis, Go Find: My Journey to Find the Lost, and myself. Good morning.
Well, good morning. How are you?
Now, not bad. Now, are you still in Montana, or can you report where you are? We're here in Idaho this morning, Susan.
Yeah, well, I live in Whitefish, Montana, but I'm down here in Boulder, beautiful Boulder, Colorado, on book tour.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your adventures with you and your black lab. Not an average walk in the park for you two.
No, it's not. I like to pitch my book as the seriousness of Into Thin Air. Remember that book about the Everest climb?
Sure.
The silliness of Marley and Me, and the internal journey of Eat, Pray, and Love. That's kind of how I sum up my book.
Well, I was going to say, you've been through some rough times, but you've got your black lab, Tasha, to help you through this. Now, for people that aren't familiar with your story, you actually rescue people that are trapped in the snow and the mountains with you and your black lab?
Well, that's true. My story actually started about 20 years ago, so my black lab is not with me, but I learned of an avalanche that had buried 3 young toddlers across the street from a world-class ski resort. And they told me that an avalanche dog showed up on the scene but failed to find the toddlers. And when I asked them why the avalanche dog couldn't find the toddlers, their answer to me wasn't good enough. And that's when I said to myself, I wonder if I could train a dog to save a life, vowing to never leave anyone behind. And that set me on my journey to train the best possible dog. So we found people in avalanches, drowned in the water, lost in the woods, found victims of crime. So I had this really big career of finding people.
Well, from concept to reality, how difficult was that to go out into the deep snow when other people have given up and find people?
Yeah, it's what I did, and we were really good at it. And the dogs are looking for human scent. So if somebody's actually in the avalanche path, the dog will find them. Now, the harsh reality when I went into this business is I just wanted to save a life. I wanted a live find, and soon I discovered that there's not that many live finds out there. Really, dog teams, most of the time, we help families find closure and we, find victims, which is a harsh reality.
What was your scariest moment?
My scariest moment, I start my book out at chapter 1. I'm flying into a 13,500 peak in the San Juan Mountains of southern Colorado with my avalanche dog on my lap in a little tiny bubble helicopter. And the pilot's telling me I'm going to have to jump out. And I question, why is it easier for me to jump out of the side of a helicopter with my dog in my lap to find a missing person who I know is dead than to talk to my husband about our relationship together? So going into these precarious situations to find dead people, is risky. And I chose to do that, but yet I couldn't talk to my husband about our relationship together. So part of my story is how I got lost in my relationship, yet I was the best person that could find any of the lost.
Well, before we get to the relationship, let me hit you with this one.
Okay.
How lonely was it out there looking for the lost in these terrible conditions?
I don't know if it was lonely because the partnership I had with my little black lab, we were good. And, at some point, the magic happens when I say that word, Tasha, go find. And boy, she is so focused, and she has one job to do. Sometimes we would have results in, a couple minutes, and sometimes it would take hours or days. But we never gave up, and she always found what she was looking for.
What about your connection to your dog and the connections that we have, the dog people to dogs? Can you describe that?
Yeah, so, I was forcing an agenda down my little puppy's throat. Like, how do I train? And, I wanted to be really good at it. But, what I had to learn was patience. And my dog had a different agenda than, say, what I had. And to learn to understand every nuance of my dog's behavior. I mean, remember, she can't talk to me, so I have to pick up all her clues and her behaviors to tell me anything, whether she's in scent or out of scent, or I don't feel good, or I don't want to do this. So it took at least 6 years to gain fluency in me really understanding my dog.
Indeed. Susan, what about your relationship with your husband?
Yeah, so we work together. What is interesting about my life is my husband and I were both exploration geologists, and we looked for gold in Latin America. Now, the beautiful thing about that is we could live anywhere, so we chose the last grade of Colorado ski town, which was Crested Butte. So I lived this life at 9,500 feet with 1 foot in the snow and then 1 foot in the mud in the tropics. And even though I worked and lived with my husband 24/7, there was something missing in our relationship, and I had to go explore that in my story.
And how did you come to grips with that?
Well, at the end, after a 12-year career with my dog had one last mission, and that was to rescue me. I was the avalanche expert, and she had to rescue me from my own emotional avalanche, which was her biggest job that could ever have happened, and she saved me. I didn't physically get caught in an avalanche, but I got caught in my own emotional avalanche.
It's always easier to help others. It's always easier to help others than to help ourselves, isn't it?
Oh, yes, right. So, I was as lost in my relationship as any lost person I ever found in the woods.
Well, how did your dog save you?
You're going to have to read the book to find out.
Oh, Susan, you're a good one. We appreciate you, Susan. The name of your book one more time, please.
Go Find: My Journey to Find the Lost and Myself.
Well, we thank you for all that you've done to help people and to really leave it out there for everyone, and hopefully that will help others that are in your situation.
Well, thank you, Kevin.
You have a great day, and
okay.
Montana's good, Colorado's okay, but we love Idaho.
I know. I spent a lot of time in Idaho. Actually, I was a survival instructor out there by Hagerman and Bliss for a couple of years when I was in my 20s, and I'm fond of southern Idaho, and I know you're in Boise.
Well, if you're ever in, please drop us a line. We'd love to have you in the studio.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Take care. There we have it. Feel like, we were talking about the war on boys. She's more of a man than I am. What's that? That doesn't take much? Well, duly noted. 6:43 KIDO Talk Radio time. Kevin Miller in the morning. We really don't have anything to complain about when it comes to the presidency, yet the press continues to attack him. R&R, good morning. You're on KIDO Talk Radio with Kevin Miller. Hello, R&R.
Hey, good morning. My favorite subject, and probably about 20 years now with just solo with the love of the canine totally. And so I really, first of all, it helped pay some bills for you guys. Your programming is just totally so sweet, especially on Sunday morning. Well, mostly all day Sunday. And then on Saturday, to hear Santos, the Latino, the manager of a store that's speaking Spanish, you and the seat must be working on simulcast with the Latina language. So it warms my heart.
Well, it's a big tent here at the old KIDO Talk Radio.
It is. Hey, I just wondered, I'm not cracking myself. Did you, the man that you told he was wrong and he had hissy fit. Did you happen to tell him he was wrong when you saw him on Saturday? You know what I'm talking about.
Oh, Tea Party Bob?
Yeah, as soon as you'd say he's wrong, he said, Danny, you remind me of your dad, and then it's like, you're wrong, and then he says, you're a putz, but which leads me into, I was phonetically trained. I wanted just the seating arrangement on the stagecoach. So when I look at the Wells Fargo Bank logo, I'm thinking maybe Putzo and out on the front and the lap of Dave Petzo, because I would like to be inside the coach with Alabama, Petzo, you and Caroline, and then maybe put Menninger. He sounds like the guy on the range.
Who, Menninger?
Menninger.
Who knows what's up with Menninger? Yeah.
He's a good man, in my professional opinion. But I'm just saying.
Okay.
When we roll along the stagecoach line and we're patrolling the border to
Sure.
the Californians, and I did some research for you. It's a 90-day window. You got to get your driver's license and your registration changed over. You can be ticketed. So.
Well, but we see so many people doing that, R&R. For people that aren't following us right now, look, it's like this. It's very unfortunate that you have people that come into this great state of Idaho and they choose not to get their plates changed. They have, maybe they're very successful. Maybe they're on the run. They're refugees. Maybe they're conservative. And they, I think it's just highly insulting to people. And wherever I moved, and I moved around a lot, it's highly insulting to people that you come into a state, you live there permanently, and you don't change your plates. And radio people are notorious for it. And you think to yourself, what are you holding on to? And that's a great question. What are they holding on to? California, if it was so great, people would be moving there, not moving away.
Oh, I won't even tell you the stories about California, Kate. 1967, governor of Oregon says, "Don't come to Oregon. Don't stay. Come visit and don't Californiate Oregon." Hey, I just want to put in. You did awesome work. The posse of the loser for governor came to with the entourage to your office. I understand.
Yeah, right. Yes, she did.
Yeah, but finally, it's like about the spring of 2004, The Incredibles, the movie came out. The Incredibles. I don't think of you having the physique of a bell pepper. I think of you as the hero of The Incredibles.
Well,
so
thank you.
You keep on keeping on.
All right.
But
God bless. Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. 580-5436, 580-KID. Did you hear what happened in Portland over the weekend? So you had a bunch of people that were patriots, and they wanted to have a prayer service. Antifa and the thugs came by. We'll tell you a little bit about that, but first, hey now, Pete in Mountain Home joins us with Kevin Miller on KIDO Talk Radio. Good morning, Pete.
Kevin, I am an escapee from California back 14 years ago, and I had my Idaho driver's license and plates before I had completed my move here. I used the address of a friend that I was staying with because I did not want to be seen here with California plates. But anyway, I did meet a guy here a couple of years ago that I kind of understand. He was in the gun store here in Mountain Home. He had Idaho driver's license, so he was a resident. He could buy a firearm. And he had like a 3/4-ton pickup with California plates. And I said, well, how can we keep those on there? And he said, I paid $800 for them, and I'm going to use them up.
I understand the argument. I really understand the argument. But on the other hand, you could use that argument for a long time.
Oh, yeah. As far as I was concerned, I didn't want those plates when I crossed the border into Idaho. And it was interesting because I had to drive back into California several times to move stuff. And I switched to California plates because they were still valid in California. Because if you're in California for more than 21 days, you had better have California plates on your vehicle. And where I was coming out of Northeast California, Alturas, and they keep a close eye on out-of-state plates there.
Well, and we just kind of let anything goes.
Yeah, and I tell people, I say, don't tell people you moved here. Tell them you escaped.
I would agree with you, but there are a lot of good people coming from California, but, let's be honest. We got a lot of libs coming in.
Oh, yeah, they didn't like it. They destroyed California. It's sort of like the cockroaches and the rats scuttling out as the ship is sinking.
Well, but then they want to bring their virus here, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We destroyed California, so we're going to move to some place that's not like that. But now that we're there, we really think it ought to be like California because we care. Yeah.
Pete, we appreciate you starting your day with us here on KIDO Talk Radio.
Well, thank you, sir. It's always a good way to start on KIDO 580 and 107.5.
You have a great one, sir.
You too.
Our great friend, Pete Mountain Home. Coming up next, the president has a few thoughts about the country. Plus, if you're just waking up, we're starting off with the war on boys, Californians not changing their license plates, and Donald Trump's America. All that before 7 a.m. only on 107.5 FM, 580 a.m., which happens to be your home for Sean Hannity weekday afternoons. And don't forget our friends at Pacific Automation, now in Boise. Pacific Automation, problem solved. Check them out online anytime today at pacificoffice.com. Blessed to be a part of your day. Thank you for joining us. Kevin Miller in the morning. Before we roll on into Fox News and the latest from Channel 7, I want to make sure we remind you of the good news of the Treasure Valley. Treasure Valley good news brought to you by Zamzows. Zamzows 86th anniversary sale going on now at all 12 Zamzows. You can save 20% off pet food and supplies, lawn and garden, wild bird, and more. Now, the sale ends October 21st, so stop by today at your Treasure Valley Zamzows. Please tell them Kevin Miller from KIDO Talk Radio sent you, and we do want to always support our local friends at Zamzows. It's happening in Ketchum, and, whether it's Ketchum or Haley, it's the Walking of the Sheep, attracting thousands of spectators lining the main street Sunday to watch the sheep make their annual trek through town. Something uniquely Idaho and uniquely good. And that, again, was brought to you by Zamzows. Traffic and weather together. Our time on KIDO Talk Radio is 6:57 with
Larry Gabbard.
Thank you very much, Larry. And coming up next, it's our annual weekly segment with David Pezzo of the Pezzo Center, Pezzo Financial, where we ask him, is it over for the bull? Is the bear on its way when you take a look at what has happened with so many ups and downs, topsy-turvies in the market? And what about the Fed raising the interest rate? If you remember last week, we had Dave Pezzo on from a secure remote location, and we were talking about the Fed raising the interest rates and the president having a big issue with the Fed. Is this good, sound fiscal policy, or is it the deep state trying to derail the president right before the midterms? We'll talk about those stories and more with Dave Pezzo coming up very, very soon, right after Fox News on your home for Fox News on the radio, KIDO Talk Radio. Do want to remind you this week, a big week on the old Kevin Miller Show. We're going to give away tickets to the PBR, and we'll be broadcasting live from Meridian, Idaho's Ed's 50s Cafe. Join us on Thursday, won't you?